my worst enemy. The flesh that's covering me brings me down to my knees.
Welcome to Sermons in the Park, a ministry exploring biblical truth from the Word of God, focusing on the truths that help us in our daily walk with Christ in every aspect of our lives. Now, here is your Reverend, Jamie McCaskill.
Hello, brothers and sisters, and welcome back to an all-new Sermons in the Park. As always, I am your Reverend Jamie McCaskill. This is your second sermon for today, September the 22nd. So recently, I did that episode on Joseph Smith, right? And like I said in that one, I thought it'd be kind of interesting to talk about the different founders of these different faiths. So let's do what we did with Mormonism with Islam this time, shall we? Let's talk about the founder of Islam, Muhammad, or however you want to say it. Now, just like how Mormonism, they see Joseph as a prophet, the Muslims, as well as the Baha'is, see Muhammad this way. In fact, if you wanted to convert to Islam, all you have to do is say the words, "There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his prophet or messenger." Now, Muhammad lived from 570 AD to the year 632 AD. He was from the city of Mecca. Now, Mecca is near the Red Sea in Saudi Arabia. Now, after his mother died, and this happened when Muhammad was 6 years old, Muhammad was taken in by his uncle, a man named Abu Talib, where he then became a merchant. The Muslims believed that Muhammad was this very religious man. They will tell you that he would take these pilgrimages up into the mountains where he would go and pray. And they teach that it was on one of these pilgrimages that he claimed to be visited by the angel Gabriel, or as they say in Islam, Jibril, and that Jibril gave Muhammad a revelation from Allah, which now Allah is just another word that they use. The word literally translates to God. Now, that word "gave" there is honestly not a good word for it, because with a little research you'll find in the story that Jibril beat it into Muhammad. He literally told Muhammad to read, and I'm talking, he was yelling at him. And this poor, terrified person, who would then grow up to become the leader of Islam, told Jibril, "I cannot read." This happened 3 times. And then Jibril choked Muhammad until he nearly passed out. Right? Commanding this poor man who could not read to read. Does that make sense to you at all, that this would be an angel of the Lord? Anyway, after this happened, right, Muhammad, who was terrified at this point, he ran home to his wife. Now, his wife was an older woman. She was the same. She was just as old. She was basically the same age as what Muhammad's mother would have been. Her name was Khadijah. And Muhammad begged her to hide him. You see, Muhammad was convinced that was not an angel of the Lord. He was convinced that he was being tormented by a demon. But Khadijah and her friend convinced Muhammad that, no, you're a prophet of the Lord. You're receiving revelation. You see, Khadijah's friend was a Nestorian Christian woman. Anyway, Muhammad then claimed that he had several revelations. And still to this day, Muslims regard Muhammad as the last and greatest prophet of the Lord. Now, Muhammad did proclaim God is one, but he rejected the Trinity. And now let's make something perfectly clear here. The reason he did that is because Muhammad was not a learned man, and he had trouble understanding it. He said that Jesus was just a prophet. But he also claimed that Adam was a prophet, and that Noah was a prophet, Abraham, Moses, David, and even himself. All of them were prophets. Muhammad also taught a theology that's called it literally means complete surrender. That is what the name Islam literally translates to: total submission. He taught it was the only way. They actually credit Muhammad with restoring, just like the Mormons do with Joseph Smith, the true religion to the world that had corrupted it. Now, early on, Muhammad had trouble getting followers. You see, many of the tribes of Mecca, they were very hostile towards him. They literally opposed the message that he was bringing. They were so hostile towards him that, according to his own works, he had to flee for protection. He moved to just north of Mecca to Medina. Now, 8 years later, Muhammad had gotten himself quite a following, and 10,000 of his current converts went with him back there and preached. Oh, wait, no, sorry. He didn't preach. I used the wrong word there. I lost myself for just a moment. No, forgive me. They took up arms and marched against Mecca. They went in and they destroyed all of the pagan idols there. Now, I want to make sure to tell you something. There are those who make it sound like Muhammad was the victim here. But when you look at all the archaeological evidence, it points to Muhammad being the one who dealt the first blow, making him the antagonist here. Now, yet they will tell us that there was little to no bloodshed or even resistance from the people of Mecca, right? So, either way, what we do know is the city fell to Muhammad supposedly very easily. And from there, his home base in Mecca, Muhammad and his followers, they went out so that they could destroy all of the pagan temples that existed in Western Arabia at that time. They succeeded at that. Now, the rest of his life, Muhammad only had one goal. He wanted Islam to grow. Sometimes he would use the wealth that he had gained as a caravan robber to bribe people to join Islam. Other times he would use terrorism. You see, Muslims, they swept through the Arabian Peninsula and they conquered one tribe after the other. You see, what happened was, when he would approach a city, Muhammad would offer up terms, terms of peace. You could either accept Islam as the one true faith, you could submit to the Prophet Muhammad. You could either do it that way, or, his forces would sack the city. Now, in the Muslim sources, specifically Sahih al-Bukhari, you'll read where Muhammad's friend named Abdul ibn Umar said this. Let me get over there so I can read this to you properly here. Allah's apostle, meaning Muhammad, said, "I have been ordered by Allah to fight against the people until they testify that none has the right to be worshipped but Allah, and that Muhammad is Allah's apostle, and offer the prayers perfectly and give the obligatory charity. So if they perform all that, then they save their lives and property from me." And I'm going to actually leave the where you can find that down below. So if you want to Google that on your own, you can. Now, all the way until the end of his life, Muhammad claimed that he was constantly receiving revelation from Allah. Now, understand what I'm about to say here. His revelations were never written down until after he died. That's right. They were canonized in what we now call the Quran. And then you have the Hadiths. Now, the Hadiths are a collection of teachings or deeds or sayings that are attributed to Muhammad. We also have the Tafsir, which is kind of like a study Bible for the Quran. You see, my Muslim friends, when we as Christians look at those supposed revelations of Muhammad, things like, denying God's triune nature, his teachings of a Muhammad's teachings of a works-based salvation, the fact that he denies the very deity of Jesus. Because of all of that together, we regard his teachings as false. They come from somewhere else besides the one true God. You cannot tell me that the God of the Bible and the God of Islam that you call Allah are the same being. The differences between them are very vast, y'all. I do not care that Muhammad said that these revelations came from the God of Adam or Abraham or Jesus or so on and so forth. The mercy of Allah depends on you carrying out right actions. But that is not what the God of the Bible tells us. The God of the Bible he has always given us the promise of forgiveness. Do you see? And that forgiveness is dependent on one thing: God's grace through faith, not our ability. Read with me here. This is one of the books y'all claim to follow as well. Let's look at Genesis chapter 15, verse 6. And he believed in the Lord, talking about Abraham here, and he counted it to him for righteousness. You see? By faith. And then look at Exodus chapter 34, verses 6 to 9. And the Lord passed by before him and proclaimed, the Lord God, merciful and gracious, long-suffering and abundant in goodness and truth, keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin, and that will by no means clear the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children and upon the children's children unto the third and fourth generation. And Moses made haste and bowed his head towards the earth and worshipped. And he said, if now I have found grace in thy sight, O Lord, let my Lord, I pray thee, go among us, for it is stiff-necked people, and pardon our iniquity and our sin, and take us for thine inheritance. And then the last one I want to look at today is Psalm chapter 130, verse 3 says, if thou, Lord, shouldst mark iniquities, O Lord, who shall stand? So I hope that, my Muslim friends, I hope this helps you understand things a little bit better. Also, my Christian brothers and sisters who are listening, I hope this helps you understand a little bit more about Muhammad and the belief system. All right, so please, I want you to feel free. Reply down below, whether you agree with me or you don't agree with me. It doesn't matter. If I'm wrong on some point in here, please, feel free. I'm always learning, and I always listen. But I have been studying Islam for a while, and I think I've pretty much got it all pat here for you. So thank you again for listening. I pray the Lord continues to bless and keep each and every one of you, and I'll see you soon. I love you. God bless you.
You have been listening to Sermons in the Park with Reverend Jamie McCaskill. Be sure to follow us on YouTube, BitChute, and Rumble. And as always, thank you for listening.
There's joy for the morning, sinner be still. Earth has no sorrow, heaven can't heal. Earth has no sorrow, heaven can't heal. So lay down your bed.